Recording in progress. Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Good morning, honorable members. I'm not sure if any of you can hear me.
Good morning. My name is Olega Chapa, DM for Agriculture. I can hear you or I can see you. Thank you.
Oh, no, that's wonderful. I just wanted to make sure that everyone can hear me. I'm happy, Deputy Minister, that you can even see myself. I hope this big head of mine did not take up too much of the screen and it did not finish much of the data of members and colleagues. With that in mind, honorable members, I hope you will not mind if I switch off the cam for connectivity purposes so that we do not get too much interruptions. Honorable members and the Deputy Minister, colleagues on the platform, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone in the meeting, hoping and believing, of course, that we're going to have a very progressive meeting that seeks to advance the agenda of the South Africans, especially in the field of agriculture, as they depend on us and we depend on them for food security. Deputy Minister, we want to take this opportunity, and I'm speaking on behalf of the committee, to congratulate you on your election to be the Deputy Minister of the department. I'm made to understand that this is one of the most important departments that we normally take for granted until when there's a shortage of food, and then we begin to complain. When there's a shortage of this or that, we only complain and appreciate the department then. But in the most of the time, we don't appreciate it because the food is in abundance, and it's mainly because of the work that you do with the minister and the team in the office in supporting established those who are in farming, those who are up and coming, and those that would want to enter in the space of farming. You will also indicate, Deputy Minister, if the minister is in the platform, because would like one of you to introduce whoever is here so that at least we know who's in the meeting. I know members are here. We just came out of meeting with most of the members, and therefore I know that they're here. But like we normally do, as and when they engage, They will then introduce themselves so that you know who's engaging with you and who's making recommendations, comments, and who's posing questions. Because if we were to ask them to introduce themselves, by the time they speak, we'd have forgotten half of the names of the members that will have introduced themselves. So I always find it easier when a member speaks, says, this is Member Bones Mudise, member of the Portfolio Committee or the Select Committee, and therefore I would like to make the following inputs. In that way, it's easy, even if you do your notes, to know which member said what, so that when you respond, you are able to say on Member Mudise, on the following issues, these are the issues that the department is doing. With that, can we take apologies, if any, and also present the agenda for the meeting, so that if needs be, we're able to make quick addition or edit the agenda.
Greetings, Chairperson. Greetings, everybody. The briefing today is the budget vote briefing by the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform, Rural Development, as well as the adoption of the minutes of last week and the budget vote report of last week, Chair. That would be all.
Thank you so much. If I were to check with you, I know in the last meeting, the very first meeting we had with the Department of Mineral Resource, was it Mineral Resources and Energy? Minister Mantashe had indicated that the energy is moving out of the department and is being replaced by petroleum. Is there any other arrangement of some sort here?
Chairperson, agriculture will be separated from the department. So moving forward, the Department of Agriculture and will be separate from Rural Development and Land Reform, Chairperson. But I leave that for the department to explain, Chairperson.
All right. No, thanks for the heads up. At least now we understand what will be happening. We'll just wait for the formal communication from the department. Honorable members, the agenda is that today we are receiving the report from the department, and immediately after our engagement with the department, we'll ask the department to leave so that we remain as select committee to deal with the business of the select committee without holding the department at ransom, because we all know and we appreciate that they've got a number of activities that they have to attend to. Is there any other member who want to move for the adoption of the agenda as presented for today's purpose?
Honorable Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
It's Honorable Bossop speaking. I move for the adoption of the agenda. Thank you.
Member Boshoff moves for the adoption of the agenda. Do you have a second? Evo?
Honorable Chair, it's Honorable Sylvia Sitole. I second the agenda as presented. Thank you.
Member Stole moves for the adoption of the agenda. Seconds the adoption of the agenda. Is there any member that is opposing us moving with the proposed agenda for today? Okay. There's no one who moves for who is opposing to the agenda as proposed today. And therefore, I would like to take, I can hear someone speaking. Who's speaking?
Honorable Chair, it's Minister Mzwanele Nyonso for the Land Reform and Rural Development. I'm just introducing myself to you that I'm also present in the meeting.
Oh, no, thank you so much, Minister. We had already indicated to the Deputy Minister that as and when you come, she will indicate to us, but we are happy that you had already introduced that you are here, because we're about to move to the ministry and we're about to hand over to the Deputy Minister to take us through. Well, I don't know who's going to be doing what, but seeing that you are here, Minister, will then hand it over. I'm not sure if you heard, but once again, congratulations to you, the Deputy Minister, on being given this huge responsibility of looking after. So now that we understand that there will be a separation, so your responsibility will be land reform. That is quite interesting. There are going to be very heated debates, I'm sure, as time goes on. If there's any member that would want to speak, please indicate that you would want to speak, because I'm using a gadget that is continuously affected by calls that are coming through. So if you want to speak, just indicate that you want to speak, because I won't see hands. so that we are able to note that you want to speak. In this case, Minister, I want to take this opportunity to hand over to you and the department. You'll tell us who's going to make presentation and we'll take it from there. But what we're going to do, we're going to take the entire presentation once it's done. So once the presentations are done and you and the Deputy Minister have made your comments, you'll indicate to us that you, from the department, you are done, you are happy, and then you'll hand it over back to us so that we can then be able to engage with you. Until then, Minister, we're handing over to you. Thank you so much.
Just a minute, Chair, Honorable Chair, and to the Honorable, our Minister. I haven't seen the deputy yet, but can you allow me to go before my leader, the minister? Because I had written to inform you that I will also be joining the Portfolio Committee of Agriculture, because the minister is not available, and I'm here also to apologize for the Minister of Agriculture. Is out of the country, and he wanted me to personally come and make a proper apology to you and the committee. And as well, can I also say that because we are now having this smart divorce between the land reform and agriculture, which was part of agriculture, and I was responsible for rural development. I am happy I was invited because I will then be having an opportunity to actually inform or give whatever we have to the minister, but not in this particular meeting. And secondly, the people, that officials that are going to attend this meeting, as we agreed as a department, will be our Director General, Mr. Ramasoti, and the CFO, Ms. Mukono, and then the Director Strategic Planning. As I say, so these are the most senior officials in our department. I am pretty sure they are going to do whatever the minister or the deputy minister was supposed to do. And I profusely apologize, but I think also as a department and our oversight portfolio committees, we will avoid by all means to have this clash, because this clash is that the PC, which expects the department to report, is also sitting, as well as this select committee. So this often, our experience is that it doesn't have a good relationship where you invite the principals to lead the delegation and they then come with an apology. I'm profusely therefore, Chair, Honorable Chair, wanting to apologize that I will have to join that meeting, because seemingly both portfolio committees could not be postponed. I therefore am here representing the minister, Mr. Steenhuisen, as well as I myself being here. But will you please, because those who are going to present, actually, even if I would stay, they are the best. They are actually the ones that hold the tools for this actual process. Thank you very much to honorable members, through you, Chair. Thank you very much. So when that time comes, I will just slip away. Please allow me. Thank you.
It's our apology. In fact, it's an oversight on our side, Deputy Minister. I know there was a formal request from your office, and we should have made members aware that indeed you have formal. It's not something that you are creating now. It's not now that you are requesting this thing. You were merely reminding us that you have forwarded a formal request, and that is granted. Our sincere apologies for having overlooked on that. We take counsel on the fact that there is a clash, and it's unfortunate that one way or the other, both committees must have presentation from the department and will remain, of course, as and when you slip away with the Director General, who is indeed a senior official within the department. And we appreciate the fact that you have made sure that the DG and the team that will be assisting the DG is also in our meeting. And once again, your request is not something that is coming up now. It was merely a reminder. Honorable members, we do have a formal request, and I will ask Mr. Bauer to share with all members so that it's recorded amongst ourselves that this request was made prior to this meeting. It's not something that is coming up. So indeed, Minister, as and when the time comes, please believe me, you have the permission. You are allowed. You can just quietly slip away and join another meeting. I'm sure we'll be able to continue with the DG and the department. And with that, can I then invite the minister, because he's in the meeting?
Maybe before that, Chair. Chair,
who's speaking?
My apology for that. Stan Matavata, the Deputy Minister of Land Reform and Rural Development. Yes, thank you very much. Good morning to all honorable members. I just did not want to make a very general, dangerous assumption that perhaps, Chair, you are aware that I'm on the platform. I want to state here and declare that I'm also on the platform accompanying Minister Nyonso. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. You'll forgive me in particular that the Matabat was still trying to get used to the fact that this department is now going to be a standalone and this one is here and all of that. And I'm sure as presentation comes, we'll pick up those things. So, Minister, because he had already indicated he's here, he was going to introduce you to say, with me in the meeting, I've got the following ministry, because there are ministries that have 2 deputy ministers and all of that. So let's allow the minister to come in and he will handle those introductions, including those that will be making presentations. And that the minister, are you still in the platform?
Yes, Honorable Chair, I'm still in the platform.
We are officially handing over to you. We'll come back when all have been said and done, and it's a time to engage. We'll then come over. Until then, we're handing everything to you. Thank you so much, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson and Deputy Ministers, Deputy Minister Matabata, Deputy Minister Kapa, Director General of the Department, Chairpersons of the Board, CEO, CFO, and senior officials, honorable members. Honorable Chairperson, it is my pleasure to make a few remarks to this august House on the presentation of 429 Annual Performance Plan of the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development, former Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. Land reform remained a priority since the dawn of democracy in 1994. Land restitution, redistribution, and tenure. The Bill of Rights recognizes the injustice of land dispossession and the need to facilitate access to land on the equitable basis. This task has been occasioned by the cruel successive colonial and apartheid regimes that discriminated against the indigenous citizens of this country on basis of race, gender, class, which negatively impacted on access to land and security of tenure. In line with the injunction of the Section 25, subsection 5, 6, and 7 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa on redress through restitution, equitable access to land for redistribution and security of tenure, the department has developed policies and legislations to effect the constitutional obligation. Land reform is critical for various fundamental reasons, including for redistribution, economic justice and redress, human settlement and spatial planning, agriculture, fisheries and maritime and natural resource management, amongst others. The Commission on Restitution of Land Rights. Since 1998, the restitution program has settled a total of 83,205 land claims, including land restoration and financial compensation. These are made up of 2.3 million individual beneficiaries, who are members of 465,005 households, with 478 being female-headed households and 1,270 households headed by persons living with disability. 3.8 million hectares of land were restored to the beneficiaries at a cost of 26.4 billion. An addition of 26 billion was used for financial compensation claim, that is, claims involving financial compensation. 5.3 billion for development grants was allocated to beneficiaries of land restitution, utilizing Section 42C of the Restitution Act. In the past 5 years, from the Commission has achieved at all its APP targets, settling 1,738 against the target of 1,597 claims, and finalized 2,583 claims against a target of 2,026 claims. The total outstanding older land claim is currently 5,759 as of 30 April 2024. For the 2024-2025, Commission will settle 319 claims and to finalize 339 claims. The speed of setting claims is dependent on the allocated budget year on year. The current allocation of 3 billion is minimal compared to the required 50 billion to settle and finalize outstanding order claims. With regards to new claims lodged between 2014 and 2016, the Commission received over 163,000 land claims, which are currently interdicted by Land Access Movement of South Africa, Constitutional Court judgment. The Commission is prohibited to process these claims until the judgment is lifted. On rural development, Comrade Chair, sustainable rural development and revitalization of rural economy are of crucial importance in improving the quality of lives of rural communities. Rural economies are largely driven by sectors such as agriculture, mining and natural resources, tourism, oceans, among many others. In line with Chapter 6 of the National Development Plan 2030 on inclusive and integrated rural development, an integrated rural development sector strategy was approved in 2023, which prioritizes an integrated mechanism to tackling challenges of poverty, unemployment, inequality, and rural economy. On National Geomatics Management Services, National Geomatics Management Service plays a critical role in the country, the continent, and globally on matters pertaining to geospatial information management. Over the period 2019-2024, the branch National Geomatics Management Services, led by the Chief Surveyor General through the offices of the Surveyor General, has approved cadastral documents, diagrams, sectional title plans, and general plans, resulting in hundreds of thousands of land parcels and sectional title units. Spatial planning and land use management. The National Spatial Planning Framework 2050, which is aligned to Chapter 8 of the National Development Plan 2030, Chapter 8 and gazetted in February 2023, plays a vital role in achieving spatial transformation and ensuring an effective and efficient land administration across South Africa, supported by the implementation of the Spatial Data Infrastructure Act, Act number 54 of 2023. SPLUMA enhances decision-making, improves coordination, increases efficiency, supports sustainable development, and foster public participation. These efforts collectively drive the nation towards a more just and prosperous future. For the 2024-2025 financial year, the priorities are: 1, provide professional and technical support to 12 state organs in effective leveraging spatial data infrastructure. on deeds registry trading entity. The deeds registry trading entity is a self-funding trading entity generating its own income with no fiscal injection since the 1st of April 1994. It generates its revenue mainly from the registration of deeds and the sale of deeds registration information. In the 2024-2025 financial year, the deeds trading entity will focus on development and implementation of electric deeds registration. 2, alignment of jurisdiction areas of deeds registration to the provincial boundaries. 3, implementation of the development partial for recordal of land tenure rights as part of the EDRs, currently under testing and piloted in the Eastern Cape. And with those few words, Honorable Chair, I end here. Thank you very much.
No, thank you so much, Minister. You can then invite the departments to do the presentation.
Over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, and thank you to the Honorable Chairperson of the Select Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Mineral Resources, Honorable Mpho Gift Modise. We would like to congratulate you and members of this select committee for being given the responsibility of oversight over the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. If you allow me to save the bandwidth of those who are on the platform, I would like to request to switch off the camera and I will concentrate on the presentation. Honorable Chair, where you had given an indication of what's going to happen with the department, I would like to have a reflection that the next steps that would follow is that we are currently awaiting a proclamation that would then set the two departments apart. We will then, as a collective in terms of the leadership guided by the two ministers, then engage in a process of separation in terms of resources, including budgets, including the human resource components, start earnestly with working with the two departments. Honorable members would recall that these two departments were once separate, but within one ministry, I think in 2009, and now we are starting off on a plate that says it has got to be two separate departments. Relating to the presentation that we are going to be giving today, I think Honorable Minister Nyonsho has actually given the presentation a very good projection that I will utilize the time and space just to reiterate the issues that Honorable Minister had raised. If I may request that Ralph projects the presentation so that we can run through that presentation. In running through that presentation, Honorable Chair, I've noted a few gremlins that might have crept up in terms of us dealing with the last final words, a few spelling issues, which I take full responsibility of. We would like to start off presenting the outline. If you can put it on slideshow so that honorable members can have that running through. We then go to the purpose of the former department, which had over the MTSF, the medium-term strategic framework, looked at a number of issues which were outcome-based and were also pinned down on the National Development Plan 2030, which looks at outcome 6, which looked at chapter 6 of the NDP, and also looks at the chapter 8 of the NDP when it comes to spatial planning. The other one referring to the development in general. Chair, there's a mic that is on and a little bit of disturbing. If I may request the mic to be switched off so that I can be able to progress with it. The APPs that we had as the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development were also We are now on slide 3. We're also supportive of the State of the Nation address in its various forms, and also the ERRP introduced by the President to look at economic reconstruction and recovery plan, and that really put us on a very good pedestal to address issues as raised by the President, as raised by the private sector, in a collective way, to come up with ways in which we can hold hands with the private sector to deal with issues. That led us to, as a sector, to come up with what we call the Agriculture and Agro-Processing Master Plan, which is for us a blueprint of how we are going to achieve progress in the agriculture sphere, in the land reform space, in rural development per se. Now, if we have got to look at the 3 sectors that are here, agriculture, land reform, and rural development. For agriculture per se, we have got the Agriculture and Agro-Processing Master Plan. In terms of the land reform space, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, we have got an interministerial committee led by the Deputy President of our country. And that IMC is meant to look at the program of action that is within the land reform space. A report to this effect will also be shared with the select committee, for the select committee to appreciate the program of action that we have within the land reform space. On the rural development side, we have got a rural development strategy, which is a very good strategy that now says that instead of looking at the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, then looking at implementing in the rural space, the main focus would be the coordination, that coordination being amplified and being rotated around the issue of the district development model. As we go to slide 4, I will not go deeper into that slide, but have a reflection that says the vision of the department would be looking at 3 areas. It's access to land, is integrated land development, and sustainable agriculture and food security for all. And those are the 3 areas that we are actually looking at broadly espoused in the mission, espoused in the outcomes that would follow on slide 5. Now, of the 7 outcomes that we have, it is very important to see that we look at governance and service delivery as the first one, and that goes in terms of program 1 that we have in the department. So you'd have an outcome. That outcome can be located within a particular program within the department. Outcome 2 looks at your spatial transformation. That says that the original scene has got to be looked at. We have got to ensure that there is transformation in terms of the spatial development in our country, and there is an effective land administration. And that is in program 6. Program 6 would have 3 branches. Those branches would be dealing with issues about surveying in our country. It would deal with issues around spatial development, and it would also deal to a greater degree around what Honorable Minister was referring to with the Deeds Office. We then deal with the issue on outcome 3 on access to land and producer support. During the debate, I heard Minister Nyoncho referring to this particular aspect to say, at the center of land reform would also be producer support, because those 2 are actually intertwined. And if you prioritize one over the other, you are most likely to see deterioration in another aspect. If you just purchase land without development support, then you are likely to have land that is now going fallow. Alternatively, if you then have got development support, then you would not achieve the issue around spatial integration. So that is, in terms of balancing, needs to be ahead when it comes to outcome 3. And we have got 2 programs that are looking at this. We have got 2 branches instead of programs, 1 program, 2 branches. One is land redistribution and tenure reform, and the other is land restitution, which is at the center of this. So both the 3 areas as espoused by land reform, being land redistribution, being land restitution, and tenure reform, are all within this outcome 3. Outcome 4 deals with 2 issues. I think we make an admission that you cannot deal with production without productivity, and therefore, if you have got to look at those, you have got to look at the entire value chain that leads to production, and say what are the kinds of innovations that you can bring in, what are the climate change issues that you have got to respond to broadly. And to this effect, we also take into consideration all the entities that we have in the department to assist us around agricultural production. And we have got a few entities, including the Agricultural Research Council. We also have got the Honors de Boer Biological Products, which produces vaccines, in order to provide an animal health solution-based entity. We also have got the Perishable Products Export Control Board, which then looks at how do we access these markets. And then lastly, the National Agricultural Marketing Council, which would, the latter being PPCB and NMC, the Perishable Products Export Control Board, and the National Agricultural Marketing Council, being also part and parcel of outcome 5 that deals with increased market access, by ensuring that we go out to the farmers and engage with the farmers and ensure that they become, or even their products become, market ready, and therefore you don't have a challenge of market access. And now outcome 6 would focus on inclusive rural economies as espoused in chapter 6 of the NDP. And through that strategy that I've already spoken about, we focus on those. Now, outcome 7 was brought very late on in terms of how we looked at the nomenclature. To say you can increase production, you can have an inclusive rural economy, but if you don't take care of pests and diseases in a particular area, we likely running the risk of not producing food that would be marketable, both internally, regionally, and also internationally. And therefore, that issue around ensuring that we deal with areas of highly pathogenic avian influenza, we deal with foot and mouth disease, we deal with pests of importance, like your invasive fruit flies, is an issue around outcome 7. From here, I'll run very quickly, Chair, having based where we are. We present an APP that has got a few outcomes that we make no bones about. That while we have got APPs, there are outcomes that we have got to look at. Those outcomes, in terms of outcome 1, would be our performance when it comes to legal transcripts, which really governs the department, that there would be 100% compliance, because any deviation would mean non-compliance to the establishment. We also look at achieving our own KPIs. I would like to indicate that when the departments came together in the 6th administration to then form the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, our performances were, let's say, from 59% during that time to what we are currently experiencing, just over 80% for non-financial performance, where this year we have got 81% and last year we had 82%. We're still saying that is very low. We would like to perform in the 90s, and there needs to be correlation between actual performance and what is being experienced on the ground by people who receive the services of the department. There is also an element in terms of those outcomes where we have got to look at various ways of how do we then also ensure, through the guidance from our principals, ensure that all legislative pieces that we have would then need to be translated into various languages as per our constitution, so that people who are within the sector would be better understanding of what we are trying to come up with from a legislative point, without having too much detail, but having an understanding of the objectives of each and every legislative piece that we have in the space of agriculture, land reform, and rural development. In terms of spatial transformation, there is what Honorable Chair and members we call the National Spatial Development Framework. And that framework was approved by through Cabinet. And now we are rolling it out and having the regional spatial development frameworks and also local spatial development frameworks. That ensures that as you plan and change the spatial patterns, there's a correct way of doing those by having spatial development framework at the center of the development. And that is what we are currently doing. We also looking at the national administration policy and also looking at the deeds registry so that we can be able to register also title deeds for those who reside in the rural areas after we have dealt with the measure that we have around the communal land tenure. We are currently running programs in targeted rural areas just to capture the rights of individuals in rural areas, so that when we come up with a legislation and a policy, we should know the character of what we are dealing with within the rural spaces in terms of the communal land base that we have. Chairperson, on slide 7, we also capturing the redress in terms of the number of hectares that we want to then target. Of significance here, from an agriculture point of view, we are looking at targeting 2,500 small producers towards commercialization. And as we go through the APP targets, we will be able to see that work surfacing itself. What is very important is that the work that we are doing is not only the work that is espoused within the department. We also have got this work in the 9 provincial departments of agriculture, where there is a grant, there are various grant programs that we run with the provincial departments. Honorable members would know the Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program, Ele Maletsema. We have got land care, we have got extension recovery. Those programs are meant to deal with it. We also have got the blended finance, which is part and parcel of what we are trying to deal with. Now, in the past, what we did, which was an error in terms of judgment and an error in terms of science, was that we looked at the number of hectares that we would be putting back into production. But that would not be assisting, because you would be looking at what kind of output do you have from that land. And therefore, we're looking at increasing the value in terms of production by 10%. And that would mean that there would be a confluence of a lot of measures that would lead us to the new 10% that we want to have. And therefore, your science, innovation, and technology plays a big part in terms of the new target, which is 10%. When you go to slide 8, we actually looking at market access, where we need to increase the value of our exports by 1.5%, looking at the targets that we have had and looking at the peer-reviewed documents. I think we might just need to rethink our strategy here, because one of the areas that we are doing quite well as a country is that we sequentially increasing our share of exports. The only issue that we need to deal with is that when we grow our exports market, we also need to ensure that we also grow from the side of the contribution of Black farmers into these exports. Last time counting, generally speaking, we had 11% contribution in terms of the commercial space from Black farmers. And this is something that we are working with within the Agriculture Now Processing Master Plan to deal with. I should say that within the industry, there are shining lights in terms of different industries within the sector that are doing well, wool production, general livestock red meat production, and also the citrus in terms of the targeting of the spaces that we are dealing with. And I hope that we will be able to deal with those decisively. In terms of outcome 6, we're looking at the integrated rural economies. We are looking at dealing with the stubborn joblessness that we have in the rural spaces, creating 40,000 jobs, and also ensuring that we go back to the issue around agri-parks, which I'll talk to later on, where we can have 9 agri-parks working. But in order to get the agri-parks to work, you need to go through a functionality stage where you have got your agri hubs under the agri parks, and then also the food farmer producer support units that would go with those. So you would need to build upwards towards those agri parks. As we go to slide 9 and looking at the last of the outcomes, we are acutely aware of the challenges that we have around biosecurity, which is head health and plant health. That what we need to do is to ensure that there is a broader involvement of the different provincial spaces, municipalities, to deal with the issue around biosecurity. And therefore, in a clear view of shared responsibilities, we would like to have 9 community networks that would assist us to deal with biosecurity as we implement the recommendations of the Ministerial Task Team that was staged by the former minister to ensure that we respond to biosecurity. Now, these are the outcomes that we are looking at on slide 12. We are saying that we would want to retain our unqualified audit and even improve on the unqualified audit by lessening the findings from the AG into a clean audit. We would hope that we will be able to, during the course of next year, this time, also reflect that the defunct Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development was able to get an unqualified audit. We're also looking at dealing with the issue around the valid percentage that we have for payments of invoices within 30 days. Honorable Chair, this is one area that as a department, we're not doing well. We are talking about above 96%. But I always argue that this is an on-8 figure. It's either you are at 0 or you are at 1, and 1 being high performance, which is a compliance issue, and we are working towards it, bringing in new systems to try and deal with an issue of payments, because even the between 3 and 4% is quite high as for small businesses who cannot afford that. So we're dealing with that. We are, in terms of program 2, running pest surveillance in 3 areas, both from a perspective of animal sciences or the animal health, to be exact, and also in terms of plant health. We delineate these diseases in order for us to be able to deal with the immediate risks. For instance, if we look at the risks that we deal with within a perspective of plant health, we look at exotic fruit flies. These are fruit flies that do not occur in South Africa, may be introduced through various forms into our country, or even as we know that pests do not have to have passports, they can just fly from one country to another. So we're looking at the exotic fruit flies, we're looking at citrus greening, which is a disease of citrus, oranges, narcis, all of those, and also banana bunchy top virus, which is currently in our area, Northern KZN, and is decimating quite large tracts of our banana plantations. So we're looking at that. We're also looking at what we would call the new green gold, which is hemp, which is part and parcel of the cannabis master plan. Now, in order for us to achieve that, we are looking at having demonstration sites in all the provinces to ensure that we can deal with that particular aspect. Now, lastly on that slide, there is an issue around the protected agricultural areas. We know that quite a lot of agricultural land is currently being taken by residential sites. And what we are avoiding is a situation where in a long time or in a long run, we might just have a decimation of agricultural land and we might be importing almost everything that we are eating. So there is that fine balance that we need to strike between residential requirements and also agriculture as a means of sustenance so that we can be able to move forward. I've already spoken about the 3 diseases on the plant side, but on the animal side, on slide 15, we have got 3 diseases also, where we have got CBPP in short, but it stands for contagious bovine pneumonia. And the next one would be PPR. Honorable members do not have to get these names, but what we are trying to demonstrate is that for those diseases that we do not have in a country, we try and set up systems that would ensure that we keep those diseases out of the country. If they are so introduced into our country, we have got mechanisms to detect them early and decisively deal with them. For those diseases that are in our country, like foot and mouth disease, we should be having responsive mechanisms to deal with the disease. And honorable members would know that we are currently having an outbreak in the Eastern Cape that we are dealing with. And this is part and parcel of why we have this going up. Now, we're also dealing with the issue around alternative sources of energy in the sector. And in this case, we are looking at biogas technologies that we are implementing, and we are targeting this year to have 13 sites that we are going to target. Now, when we go to program 3, honorable members, I will not talk to what the provinces would do, because that would be a separate portfolio on agriculture per se, because agriculture, as we would all know, is a concurrent function in terms of the constitution. So there would be targets that are set by the provinces for each and every province, and they would be able then to articulate what is going to happen in that particular space. And at the relevant time, space, we would be able then to collate and give to the Select Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Mineral Resources, a composite way of looking at what kind of work would all the provinces be doing in the agriculture space. Suffice to indicate, what we will reflect is that on slide 17, we will then go to the land reform space and say part of the problems that we are experiencing in land reform, it's the community property associations and CPAs. And I know that honorable members come from different parts of our country, and these CPAs have become problematic. And there is a question that everybody is having whether CPAs would be a very good way of a holding entity for land. However, that question would still need to be answered, because the previous minister had engagements with CPAs, and there is a report that would come to reflect the issues that are there, including whether we need to review this act and deal with other things. But in the meantime, what we are reflecting on is a reflection of the training that we need to give to the executive members of CPAs to ensure that they have got governance perspective in line, so that they don't have overstretched way of dealing with governance. They don't have overtures into areas that would not necessarily be part of the CPA world. We're targeting to have 755 executive members being trained. And as you see, we have tried to provide honorable members with the provincial breakdown so that we would know how many per a particular province would be trained. We then move also to the issue around the engagements around the pipeline, the new students that we would require from various institutions, especially the colleges that we have in our sector, in various areas that we have. So we're looking at 800 students that would come in, and these areas would be around KZN, you would have in the Eastern Cape, you would have colleges in Northwest, just to give examples, Gauteng not having colleges, agricultural colleges, and Mpumalanga having seeded the agricultural college in lieu to the Mpumalanga University, which is doing quite well. We then move to slide 19, where we also look at the provision of land development support to the farmers. Now, the target is 40 farmers, and honorable members would be contesting to say, but 40 is too low a number. And I would like to just bring to the force that this is around mega farmers, farmers who would be commercialized, farmers who would be taken at a level of where they are occupying farms that were bought as part of the proactive land acquisition strategy of the department. And then they would be commercialized to a level where you have got, out of these 40 commercial farmers who would be able to run on their own, and who would be part and parcel of the initial 2,500 farmers that we are looking at within the sector. On slide 20, we are looking at now bringing more farmers through the blended finance scheme, which really says in its formulation, government will give a grant, a part of this blended finance, and whichever financial institution would also bring the loan part. Now, this differs from 50% up to loan, up to almost 70% loan. So it also takes into consideration affordability. We have got this blended finance scheme in various forms. We have got one that is running with the industrial development in their own way of dealing with issues, the IDC. We also have got one that's running with the land bank, and we also have got one with the land bank, which is called the Agro Energy Fund, which is a form of blended finance where we are encouraging farmers to also diversify from using electricity coming through ESCOM to go to alternative sources of energy. So those are the blended finance mechanisms that we are having on the table. We also have on slide 21, Honorable Chair Mudise and honorable members of the Select Committee, the number of hectares that we want as a department and so desire to redistribute. We have got 46,000 hectares, 747. There's a provincial spread in terms of the engagements. Now, one would always have that argument to say there is a bigger slant when you go to the Northern Cape, you have got 11,000. Now, the Northern Cape is known for livestock production. While we recognize that there are fertile soils that would have along the river banks or very close by, but most of it would be in semi-arid areas, and you would have less what we call carrying capacity in livestock. You don't have a lot of grazing to carry a lot of livestock in that, and therefore you would need more hectares to carry livestock, and therefore you would always have that slant around the Northern Cape carrying more in terms of land. On slide 22, we also look at land restitution, and in land restitution, it's settling all the old order claims, as it were. Minister in his introduction had indicated that our movement going forward, we have been able to settle 83,000 claims, land claims, and we are working at dealing with the outstanding claims. For this year, we are looking at 319, and in his budget vote, and also in the response to the president's opening of parliament, Minister Nyoncho was saying that there needs to be more funding towards land restitution, and I heard the president in his response indicating that yes, he agrees with Minister Nyoncho on this, that This 319 in the ensuing year and outer years would need to be have more funding that comes in, so that we can deal with what the Commission would say is the strategy to ensure that we deal quicker with the old order claims. Now, the next one would be the finalization of the land claims that we have. We are also looking at 339. You also have got the outline in terms of the provincial space. Now, you would realize that some of the provinces would be lower. These are the provinces where the Commission is about just to close on the name claims in terms of those areas and start working towards finalization. Now we go to rural development strategy, which then would look at the number of youth that are enrolled into the National Rural Youth Service Corps program, or NARISEC as we call it, and it also gives the provincial outline. Most of these youth would be picked from rural hinterlands that we have in our country. The choice in terms of the youth would also include the traditional leaders, would include communal leaders. But we also go and say that poverty is not only limited to the rural space, but you also have got areas which are in peri-urban areas or even in urban areas where you might just get youth to deal with the issues, to try and address poverty through employment. Now, honorable members, what is significantly different about the approach of NARISEC now is that the team that is working on NARISEC is working towards a program where when there is recruitment, there's already an opportunity, either in terms of ensuring that there is land space where the chief might have agreed to assist the individual, or alternatively, a work kind of opportunity that arises where we have got different companies who agree to take some of the graduates of this program. And we have got huge success stories to be shared in terms of the program as it goes forward. Although the new way of doing it is still on a low side, we are working towards ensuring that these job opportunities become a part and parcel of the greater, if not 100% of the program. Now, we also, in line with that, in slide 26, would be issuing reports that would be shared with the public to see how this program is performing. Now, in terms of infrastructure development on slide 27, we depart from a realization that in order to cap rural-urban migration, we need to deal with infrastructure within the rural space. And that infrastructure might be infrastructure in the agricultural environment or in the rural enterprises other than agriculture. And therefore, we have got 58 projects that we are looking towards completion. And those would pen from rural infrastructure, livestock, holding pens, to rural structures that would deal with enterprises like sowing and others that would come to the fore. On slide 29, we reflect on a bigger component that we have that deals with cooperatives. Cooperatives would be where you have got farmers who come together to just maximize their powers of bargaining and powers of collective or even communities of practice to deal with a plethora of issues within this industry or even within the sector that we have. We are looking at targeting 117 cooperatives towards training, and we have got that breakdown in terms of quotas. And we're also looking at the Agri-B funding, which is part and parcel of how do we fund equity within different businesses in the economic development space. We then go to the development of that part that I initially hinted on, relating to the agri-parks. Now, the biggest component of agri-parks is the farmer production support units. Now, in order for them to be functional, there are various issues. There's a criteria that we have developed to get them functional. At the farmer production support units, you get your fertilizers, you get your mechanization, you also get advice in terms of what needs to happen in a space. And therefore, we are dealing with functionalities of 37 of those. And as we build up, then you have got the agri-parks starting to work, because you wouldn't get an agri-park just to work without having these areas functional. The breakdown is also outlined in terms of the provincial space, and therefore the footprint would be as indicated. The next footprint that we give in terms of the provincial space would be on the number of enterprises that we would support for market access on slide 31, being 138 of those going forward. We're also looking to capacitating smallholder farmers on slide 32 on the agricultural marketing side of issues. Honorable members would be seized with the report that came out around how the fresh produce markets would not have been assisting Black farmers to market their products. And this is something that we are looking at. And within that, we have got the breakdown in terms of the quarterly targets to reach the 300, my apologies, of those that we want to reach. Now, dealing with the issue around the spatial planning, we have got quite a few issues that we are dealing with, where we are saying for us to deal with matters, if you make an application for deeds, that if you lodge for execution, you should be having that within 7 days. And this is very important. At 95% of the time, we should do it. And the very same should be, if we register a deed, it should be delivered within 10 days of that. We are looking at a system called the electronic deeds registration system. And if that system comes online, as we plan 1st of April 2025, we would be even able to have these requirements, because then we'll be dealing with a paperless environment, or as we develop it in the outer years. In terms of the National Development Special Development Framework, I've indicated we would be developing frameworks for development, and we'll be having 3 of those, the action plans that we will develop. We will also support, in terms of the Spatial Infrastructure Act, different departments to deal with the issue around spatial development. On slide 36, we will also, as a matter of engagements, when we deal with surveillance, try, Honorable Chair and honorable members, to reduce the number of days that it takes for us to deal with a cadastre document. Would take that to a level where the number of days would be drawn back. Now, why this target? This target is meant to deal with efficiencies, because introduces level of inefficiencies in the system, would then lead us to having what the president would always say, that doing business with government is very difficult. So this is meant to deal with that area of doing the ease of doing business. We also move ahead in terms of 861 to deal with the data sets that we make available to those who are dealing with geospatial information, that we would be able to give that in 85% of those to the requirers or to those the users who would want to get those. And then lastly, the issue around the data maps that we'll be able to produce in terms of data sets that per annum, we're looking forward to producing 20, Honorable Chair Modise and honorable members. That would conclude the matter from the department in terms of the presentation of the APPs. With your permission, Honorable Chair, I would like to request the acting CFO just to take us through very high level, less than 5 minutes in terms of where we are in terms of the budget breakdown. This budget breakdown, the way that we prepared it was recognizing that the select committee actually represents the provincial space, and they are the ears, the eyes, the brains behind what happens in the provincial space, that we would also give that flavor around the budget so that we can see how this budget would be then divided. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and honorable members of the Select Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Mineral Resources. Honorable Chair, I would then call on Mr. Malisha to make the presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Chair, honorable members, ministers, deputy ministers, and DG and senior management of the department. The budget breakdown entails the budget per program, economic classification, the budget per province, and I'll also touch on conditional grants, entities, and lastly, the allocation for presidential economic stimulus package. Next page. Yeah, these slides will present the budget per program and sub-program. We have a total of 6.7 billion, of which under Program 1, Administration, is 2.7 billion, which is 16.2% of the total budget. And this is the second highest allocation of the department's budget. And then within this program, Administration, the largest contributor to the budget will be office accommodation, which is where we incur expenditure for office accommodation charges, and then followed by computer services, also property payments. So on Program 2, we have an allocation of 13.6%, which is 2.2 billion. This total allocation is to mitigate the prevention of outbreak of plant and animal diseases. And then within Program 2, the largest contributor to the allocation will be Agricultural Research Council, which is 6.5% of the allocation for the program. This allocation will assist towards increasing capacity for research and development within ARC. Next slide. So then Program 3, allocation is 56.2%, which is the largest, the highest allocation at 9.3 billion. Within this program, the largest contributor to the allocation is restitution, which has been allocated 3.6 billion, which is 21.5% of the program's allocation, and then followed by food security at 2.8 billion, which is 17.1% of the total allocation. So this total allocation also includes conditional grants, which amounts to 2.3 billion. These conditional grants are broken down into CASP, which is 1.7 billion, ILIMA, which is 443 million. And then we have Program 4 allocation. This Program 4 got 779.8 million, which is 4.7% of the total budget allocation. So within Program 4, we have the allocation for rural infrastructure development, which is the highest contributor of this program's allocation, and also for the National Rural Youth Development Program. So next slide. So then program 5, economic development, trade and marketing, has got an allocation of 4.7% of the total budget, which is 791.6 million. So within this program, there is allocation for agro-processing, marketing, and rural infrastructure development. This is where allocation for enterprise development projects and also farmer production support units project allocations are. Program 6 has got the smallest allocation, which is 748.6 million. This is 4.5% of the total budget. So then I'll also touch on the economic classification and a highlight on the economic classification. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Slide 45. 46. Yeah, so this is the slide on the allocation by economic classification. The biggest portion of this total allocation will be compensation of employees, which is 24.7% of the total allocation. That allocation is 4.1 billion. And then this allocation is mainly on COE. Is the highest contributor to this allocation will be under administration support, which has an allocation of 2.6 billion on COE, and also followed by agricultural production, biosecurity, and natural resource management program, which has an allocation of 747.9 million. This is for 1,077 field positions. And then food security and land redistribution has got an allocation amounting to 639.5 million. So on goods and services allocation, which is 26.2%, is the second highest allocation by economic classification, which is 4.1 billion. So I'll also highlight the highest items that are contributing to goods and services. Then households is the third highest contributor to the allocation at 15.7% of the entire budget. Under this classification, the bulk of the budget is for restitution, which is utilized for a settlement of the land claims. And then on the next slide, I'll highlight I'll skip the one for the graphical representation. I've already highlighted in terms of the percentage contribution. So let's skip this one. I've already explained. Yeah, so these are the top 7 goods and services items that contribute to the 4.4 billion under goods and services. That's farming supplies, which is 1.1 billion under farming supplies. There is an allocation for the presidential economic stimulus package, also farmer support to in terms of enterprise development, and also farmer production support unit. Operating leases, the amount of 667.5 million is mainly the allocation for office accommodation rentals for all our offices across the country. Infrastructure planning and services of 543.8 million is mainly with regards to rural infrastructure projects that are underway within the department. And then consultant business and advisory services contributes 7% of the department's allocation. Then we have travel and subsistence, and also property payments. That's where funding for our municipal rates and taxes, security services, cleaning services are allocated. Next page. Next page, let's go to the provinces. So this is the slide that breaks down the allocation per provincial, per province. So under these allocations, we have these allocations includes conditional grants. Eastern Cape has got an allocation of 1.4 billion, which is 16.3% of the total allocation. Free State 559.1 billion, which is 6.3% of the allocation. KZN 20.7%, which contributes the
DG, you have lost audio.
I've also realized that we have done that, Chair. If Chair allows, I may just conclude.
He's back.
Okay, thanks.
You
Thank
can
you.
continue, DG. You can continue.
Said by mistake. Northwest, 10.5% of the allocation. Northern Cape, 510 million, which is 5%. And lastly, Western Cape, which contributes 8.1% of the allocation. So the main contributor to this allocation, it's restitution. That is, has got the highest allocation per province. That is what is largely contributing to, especially when you see in KZN, restitution allocation comes number one, and also Eastern Cape and Mpumalanga. Next page. Can go to the next page. This I summarized that in my next page. So this is the allocations per conditional grant, starting with land care grant. When you look at land care grant, we've got Eastern Cape 13.5%, and also KwaZulu-Natal contributed 15.7%, Mpumalanga 9.11%, and also Western Cape, which contributes 7.3% of the land care budget of 90.2 million. So KZN is becomes the highest contributor to the land care, but mainly these allocations were we used the weighted average of using the following variables: nodes of the most deprived wards in the country, land capabilities, which is the total hectares in terms of class with regards to special analysis, the size of new boundaries from municipal demarcations, poverty gap based on the food poverty line of State SA. That is what determined the allocations. That's why you find provinces like KZN, Limpopo becoming, and Eastern Cape becoming the top provinces that have the highest allocations because of such variables. Next slide. Next slide. So then these allocations are for CASP infrastructure. CASP infrastructure total budget of 172 million. The highest contributor to the allocation will be KZN, and then followed will be Eastern Cape, followed by KZN, and then Mpumalanga and Free State. So we used the same weighted average of the following variables: agricultural land area, households involved in agriculture, and previous performance by provinces. And next slide. Next slide. So the CASP extension services allocation amounts to 322.5 million. So the highest province to receive allocation, the highest allocation is Limpopo with 64.8 million, followed by KwaZulu-Natal, followed by Eastern Cape, and then KwaZulu-Natal. I think to save time, I'll just highlight the provinces. I won't go through each and every one, but because I see now, it looks like I'm going over the limited time that was given. Next slide. Next slide. So the total allocation for CASP colleges, 99.3 million. So the main contributor there will be Limpopo, then Eastern Cape, and for KwaZulu-Natal. Next slide. So Elima Letsima is the last conditional grant that we have. 448.3 million is the total allocation. Then the highest contributors to the allocation will be Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and then in Northwest. Next slide. Next slide. So our entities allocation amounts to 2.1 billion. So the entities will be ARC, which is the highest contributor to the allocation of 2.1 billion, and then followed by Agricultural Land Holdings Account. OBP, there's no allocation there. We just put a 1 to keep the transfer line because they are self-sustainable. Ingonyama Trust Board, 21.9 million, which is 1%. Office of the Valuer General, there's 142.8 million allocation, which is 6.8. And we also have deeds registration. There is no allocation. We just put a 1 to keep the transfer line. They're self-sufficient, self-sustainable. They do fund themselves within their entity. Next one. Next slide. So this is the last slide that I have. We've got funding for the Presidential Economic Stimulus Package. We did not receive any additional funding from National Treasury. The department had to reprioritize these funds within its program or project to fund the PES, the PES, to the value of 750 million. So of this 750 million, 500 came from the transfers and subsidies allocations and conditional grants. And the balance of 250 to make up the 750 million came from the goods and services items, which are property payments, which are office accommodation related allocation of 100 million, and also from rural development projects, 100 million, and lastly, from economic development, trade and marketing, which is under farmer support projects. We had to reprioritize 50 million to make up the 750 million. Thank you very much. That was the last slide for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and honorable members of the Select Committee on Agriculture and Reform and Mineral Resources. The department submits and would like to indicate that would be the presentation from our good self.
Thank you so much, DG and your team. I just want to check with the Minister and Deputy Minister on the platform if there are any other addition after the presentation.
Not on my side, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Tate Mathabatha.
Not on my side either, Honorable Chair.
Thank you so much, Deputy Minister. Honorable members, the fortunate part is that the gadgets of the institution is now working. I can see if you raise your hand so that I can note who wants to speak, who wants to make an input, send a comment, or ask a question for clarity. I have Ntate Nico Pina as number 1. Let me note yourselves here so that I have proper order. Just a second. Honorable Member Pina, number 1. Honorable Member Mabilo, number 2. Is there any other member? Okay, let me do this. Colleagues, there's no brainwave. Once these honorable members have spoken and they've been responded to, there will not be a brainwave. You say, Chair, yeah. They just reminded me something. Rather raise your hand. If there's nothing, you'll say, I'm covered. Going once. Going twice.
My hand is up.
Member, okay, Van den Berg, Honorable Van den Berg, and Honorable Mtombe.
Honorable Kennedy also.
Honorable Mtombe. Who's speaking? Maybe you are unable to raise your hand.
Kennedy. Yes, Honorable Kennedy, Macy.
No, we don't have Honorable Pemeli Macy here. There's
Macy
no one by the
Kennedy.
name. No, your name does not appear here. Are you the one with Samsung SMA546E?
Yes.
No. Please change your name, Mama. Please. I'll take you, but please make sure that your name appears properly here.
Okay. All right.
It's member who?
Macy Kennedy.
Honorable Kennedy is the surname.
Yes, Kennedy is the surname.
Please, Honorable Member Kennedy, just change your gadget's name so that it reflects who's in the.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We'll take Member Pina. After Member Pina, it will be Member Mabilo, and then Member Van der Berg, Member Mtombeni, and then Member Kennedy. Member Mabilo, once Member Pina say thank you, it's you. I'm not going to come until Member Kennedy has spoken. So it will be in that order. Once the member is done, the next member will then engage. Once that member is done, and the next member, Ganjalo. Member Pina, I start with you.
Thank you, Chairperson, and I want to thank the Honourable Minister and especially the DG. This was a comprehensive report. I read through all the documents, but I must say your presentation was excellent. And I trust the DG will answer these questions as he seems very knowledgeable regarding the subject. My first question is, Chairperson, regarding the program spending. Program 3, food security, land reform, and restitution. We spent, or the department for that program spent 9.5 billion against the available budget of 9.06 billion. My issue is not with regards to specifically the spending of it. My first question on this is, why are those two put together? Food security and land reform and restitution. Obviously, both of them have different goals and objectives. Food security is to ensure the food security for the country as a whole so we can feed the country. Land reform is another objective that we as a government have. I just want to know, why are they put together? And if you can, while he's answering that question, how much of that 9.05 billion was spent on food security, and how much of that 9.05% was spent on land reform and restitution? Now, if the DG's argument is, well, their goals are the same, that's fine. But I just need some clarity regarding that. Why are they put together in the same program, and what is the split of the expenditure on that program? Then with regards, Chairperson, to the MTSF, priority number 7, I'm going to read it to you. Priority number 7 is a better Africa and world. Now, let me just, for those colleagues who don't know, that's the MTSF is the medium-term strategy framework. DG, obviously everything we do as a government needs to be measurable. Otherwise, we don't know whether we fail or we succeeded in our goals and strategies. But that statement there, a better Africa for all. The word better is not measurable. How do we know we've achieved this priority or we succeeded in this priority? So if you could maybe just give me an indication there, please. It's a very vague statement, and there's no way for us as an entity to measure the success of that priority. Then with regards to the 12.8 billion worth of agriculture products a year that we export, I want to know from the DG, where is this? What is the major export or product of this export? What is the top 10 or top 5? Just to give the select committee an idea of where is the money and within, is it whether it's citrus, whether it's meat, whether it's vegetables, whatever it might be. If you can just give an idea of the exports and where is it coming from, and what is the actual produce that is being exported, or the larger sectors of the produce. Then at number, let me just go quickly to this one. Sorry, Chairperson. I'm gonna get it. Oh, here it is. Entities. 5.1 agricultural land holdings account. I want to get clarity from the DG there. Now, as I'm going through the report, this is an agricultural land holding account. So basically what we are doing is we are buying a property and we are leasing it to people maybe who are not able to get their own properties or own farmland to farm, and we're leasing to them so they can start their agriculture career, or they can start their own businesses. My question here is, I'm very sure we as a government don't want to be a government of renters for the rest of our lives. Is the long-term strategy here with this specific entity to identify potential people we can give title deeds to, or are we just planning to long-term lease these farms to potential farmers and up-and-coming farmers? So I just want to know, what is the long-term strategy of this entity? Is this a long-term leasing thing, or are we looking to give these individuals title deeds? And then I want to compliment your department, DG and Minister. He spoke extensively on the risks involved with diseases and bugs and stuff that come into our country, and I want to know from him, how is your relationship with our points of entry with regards to people coming in the country, people bringing in? Is our border agents trained to identify potential diseases that might pose a risk to our agriculture sector? I just want to know your relationship with the Department of Home Affairs. Are they trained, the officials, to identify these risks? And yeah, that's it. Thank you, Chairperson. Appreciate
it. Good morning, Chairperson. I'm Honorable Patrick Mapilo from the Northern Cape, Commandant Delegate to the NSOP. Just quickly, congratulations to the Minister, the deputies, and the team for your appointment. My first question will be around the total amount of money spent for restitution or redistribution of land is cited as 26.4 billion. First thing I would want to get as a new member of the Select Committee on Agriculture, it will be very important that maybe we are provided with a complete breakdown of the provinces that were allocated or benefited from the land distribution to the tune of 26.4 billion. That's the first thing. Secondly, Chair, in terms of the comments made by the minister, that the amount at the disposal for land redistribution will be around currently 3 billion. And there's a need of plus minus 50 billion to fast track or to accelerate that program. The question to the DG would be, how then do we mitigate this huge budget deficit, which will be plus minus 47%? I know we are facing a serious fiscal constraint. With the impact that this will take many years for us to be able to do justice to the whole land question. Then the second question will be around the district developmental model. How is our department fitting in terms of speeding up and fast tracking its role in the DDM model? And then obviously coming from a province, Northern Cape, we should all know that the Northern Cape was the first province to benefit from land restitution. And there's the case study will be an area called Pinel. I think the DG will be conversant with it, Pinel, which is next to Bartley West. They got their land in 2005. I just want to check in terms of overall communities that receive their land. What is the turnaround time in terms of issuing out the title deeds? What is the turnaround time? Because I would argue to say, while this province was given, or this community, Pinel, was given the land in 2005, as recent as today, to 2024, they have not yet received their title deed. What is the turnaround time? What is the criteria, and what is the delay? Around your agri-parks, DG, we understand what we are saying around the agri-park in order for them to go operational. But my own experience is that the agri-parks are not functional. And I have raised it in the other committee, the economic committee, select committee. The question would be to say, DG, what is the time frame that will ensure that all our agri-parks in the 9 provinces are fully functional? Is there a plan to ensure that the agri-parks are functional, because they've got the potential to create jobs, to reduce poverty, and to reduce inequality? But it seems they are just reflected on paper, but in actuality, they are moribund. My last question, DG, will be around the 9 programs of funding, as you have alluded. To what extent are all 9 provinces benefiting, especially now, the disadvantaged, the rural, and the historically disadvantaged? How are they benefiting in relation to those funding? Those will be my last questions, DG. Thanks very much, Chairperson.
Thank you. I think it's my turn now. I am Kobus van den Berg. I am also from the Northern Cape. And when I look at your presentation, DG, I get the distinct feeling that we might be the best planners in Africa. In fact, I think we can export our competencies to Africa. But I need also for your department to bring your evaluations to us so that we can see whether our planning has turned into fruition. And it is my wish that through this term, or maybe even within the next couple of months, that we can see also the evaluations and the fruits of the programs, because we are talking about a lot of money that has been spent. I welcome the budget separation, and when I look at the appropriations bill for agriculture, there are many tasks and functions to be performed, and I would like to see that the appropriate allocation of funds do happen, because then each of these different allocations can be brought to fruition, and we can get to a point where more different concentrations on different tasks will be happening. Then, when I sit and I listen to the presentation, I get a distinct feeling that we are having two parallel systems in agriculture. There is the government's idea of agriculture, and then we might call it the real world out there. How are we assured that your department actually is following real commercial agriculture and aligning to it? If you can answer that question to me. Then, when we look at the financing structures, if the DG could please tell me what the prerequisites to qualify for financing would be according to these schemes, because I am not assured that it is available to everybody. I welcome the municipal markets. It has been a personal passion of mine coming from local government, and I believe that there is a lot that can be done there. No upcoming farmer can concentrate on what he has to do every day if he is still worried about getting rid of that which he has produced and whether he will be paid or not. So therefore, I am absolutely in favor of your work that you plan to do on the fresh produce markets. In fact, I would prefer for your department to take these markets away from the municipal structures, as they seem to be losing money and not spending any time or finances on it. Then, basically, I would just ask your department to please show us within the next year or two, or the foreseeable future, exactly what you are doing, so that we might understand better, and then we can support you also better in the future. I thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Ubongi Mtombeni, I'm sorry for appearing as Bongi Mtombeni, Chair. I'm Marine Dlangisanodara from the Eastern Cape. Zoom refused to accept me until I had to use my Facebook to join the meeting. I'm still using my phone. But otherwise, I first had to add my voice in appreciating the presentations and also congratulate the minister and the deputies for their appointments. Mine, Chair, is not a question per se, but it is a request. In slide 32 or 33, I'm not quite sure which of these slides that was communicated about the completed infrastructure projects. I just request that we are finished with a breakdown of these completed infrastructure projects and where they are, together with those that are towards completion as presented. Otherwise, for now, as a new member, I'm just appreciating presentations also trying to get to understand the issues in this department. Then as time goes on, one will get used and be able to deal with a lot of things. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings to all members. It's Macy Kennedy speaking. My first question, I'm already covered of that breakdown of 2 provinces of the 26.4 billion. My second question concerns the equitable distribution of land in rural development. When mining communities are moved with their livestock, does the issue of grazing taken into consideration to cater for their livestock? Are there any programs to guide communities of where to take their livestock to survive, where grazeland is affected by, an example, mining or any other things? My second question is on pesticides. After pesticides have been sprayed on agricultural products, is there any mechanism of measuring or checking if the pesticide is not overdosed to prevent any negative effect they could have on human consumption? The last question is, what actually is the cause of delay when coming to land claims? And averagely, in percentage, what is the average percentage of processing land claims annually? The land claims which are processed annually. Thank you, Chair. That's the end.
Thank you so much, honorable members, for the engagement, questions and comments. And I want to agree with the member, I think it's member, not Adam Kennedy, to say, yes, Minister and Deputy Minister, please be aware that we were made to understand today in the Committee of Chairpersons that of the 54 members of the NCOP, only 4 are retaining members. The remainder of 50 are brand new members, myself included. However, we are fortunate in our select committee to have member Boshoff, who is also a retaining member and who was also in this committee. So there's so much that she'll be assisting us with as we move forward, including the support staff. It's still the same. So Mr. Bauer and the team are also here to assist members with certain information, like questions that probably might not have been captured here, that will come as individual members over the period of recess, go through the reports, preparing for the next term or the second term that they might have. That will be sent to your office as written responses that will come via written replies. For now, I want to hand over back to yourselves to respond to questions, comments that have been made, but also requesting that in the next presentations that we would have moving forward, may the presentation please make, remember we're coming from provinces. So before anything else, our interest is what is happening in our province where we come from. You would have had 2 members who are coming from the Northern Cape, indicating muchly or arguing more about what's happening in the Northern Cape precisely. So would appreciate if the report could say, like in your slide 7, if I remember correctly, you had a target of 2,500 small producers that you want to take to commercialization. Now, if we're to break it down province by province, that 2,500 of small-scale farmers, or small producers. What does it mean in terms of provinces? How many of the 2,500 will be coming from the Western Cape and so on and so forth? There was a mention that you made that some of these programs are province-based, so each province will have its own program. I know for a fact that Gauteng, I think a week or two back, where I come from, they had a program in terms of agriculture and rural development, where they were inviting those who already own 500 hectares of land to come for a program where they will be given, I think about 20, if I'm not wrong, Nguni cows for purpose of farming or being producers of Nguni cows for a certain period, and therefore when that time comes to an end, there's a process of repaying back the department and so on and so forth. Same with the 10% increase, a 1% increase. If we could have a breakdown that this 10% increase nationally in terms of provinces, what does it mean? So that when we do our provincial weeks and when we enter into a certain province, we should be then able to ascertain that indeed the work of the department, here it is, we can see it, we can feel it, including your agri parks and everything else. So I'm not saying for now, I'm saying in future, when we have this presentation, can we speak to the specifics so that at least we're able to comprehend? Because unlike National Assembly, our main interest is what is happening in our provinces. Thank you so much. And I'm handing over back to you, the Honorable Minister and the Deputy Minister and the department to take us through to the responses.
Thank you, Chair. DG can respond, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and to Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister Mathabata, and Honorable Deputy Minister Papa, who may have joined the other committee of Parliament in terms of the Portfolio Committee. I would like to start off by thanking the honorable members for their very incisive outlook, for the guidance in terms of the presentation that was made by the department. And most of all, Honorable Chair, for the observations in terms of the presentations that have been made to date. I will go through the engagements in a way that would really try and deal with each and every of the areas that were highlighted, so that we can be able to, as a department, go through the portfolio, the select committee. We understand, Honorable Chair, and we are also here as the department, not as individuals who know it all, but we are subject to your guidance, your oversight. And we find it that once we do that, we basically improve the way that we approach our work as a collective, as a department, and the work that we do with the colleagues in the provinces, and how we then project ourselves to engage on those. Now, Honorable Pina, I think let me start off in terms of the engagements that we have had with you. You were very instructive in terms of that question that you put, to say, why did you put the two programs that seem to be diametrically opposed, as divergent as they are, land reform and your food security and agrarian reform? Now, when the two departments came together in 2019, there was a directive that came from the presidency that ushered in what we called then the National Macro-Organization of Government, to say in a particular department, you wouldn't have no more than 6 programs within a department. And therefore, we had to strategically think of how do we then have a new nomenclature within the department. Some of these were really misfits, like the one that you see, where we spent most of the money. You would find that there is a misfit because your land reform would have been at any rate a program on its own. In actual fact, not only a program, but having separate branches and an entity that dealt with issues that were there. You would have the commission standing on its own. You would then have land redistribution standing on its own. And you would have tenure reform standing on its own. So you had that. But because of a directive, there had to be creative ways of how do you compress this into 6 programs. Now, these 6 programs, if you look at them from a very high level, which is in the old structure of the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, Program 3 would have what we call food security and agrarian reform, and it would have land tenure, land reform and tenure reform, and also would, in a broader way, have restitution as branches within that. So you would have branches that might not necessarily be related in terms of this case. And that was the case that we were dealing with here. It was just for compliance purposes. Now, there was also a question that you had asked before I go to the budget, that when you look for outcome 7, not in terms of the department, but in terms of government, the outcomes in terms of MTSF, we have got a better Africa and a better world. And if you had to go and try and quantify those, you would not necessarily be able to quantify what better would mean. But in terms of translating what that better meant from a government perspective, you would then say, what kind of programs do you have that would be geared towards ensuring that we have got a better Africa and a better world? Now, just to highlight this level, within the African Union, you would have programs that are run from there, starting from Agenda 2063. And within agriculture, for instance, which is a specialized technical committee on agriculture, rural development, including land, you would have the Comprehensive Africa Development Program, or CADAP as we called it, Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program. And in that program, there would be measures that you'd see where African states president had agreed that there would be 10% allocation to agriculture of the national budget toward agriculture. Then there would be a realization that some of the countries would have been past that stage of allocating 10% towards that. But you would also have other measures that we have that would measure progress that is being made within an African context. And in that line, we have got measuring tools that are always presented in February to the presidents to say this is how African countries are performing from a agriculture perspective. We also have got areas that we really have got within the African Union, talk about issues relating to land, issues relating to rural development, and how this impact on the citizens of a particular country. So we look at it from that perspective and try to narrow it towards what would be measurable. The other measurable that we have would be the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and how the participation there would assist South Africa and Africa to be intertwined, to have regional integrated value chains, and all of those measures that we have. Over and above that, when we talk about a better world, we then say within the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, for instance, we would have a component that deals with international relations, and then there would be different memoranda of understanding that we have with different countries. We would then have different ways in which we then interact with them, apart from trade, just the relations. So that better at a very high level might not be quantifiable. But when you go to program level, when you go to projects level, you would be able to quantify what is meant by that and how that also impacts on a country per se. You have also asked the top five that we are exporting. Until sometime last year, citrus was the best export that we had in our country. And then it was at that stage we had maize that was at the top because of a bumper crop that we had experienced as a country. And it was quite exciting at that stage to see how maize had grown to overtake citrus during a particular year. But it's mainly you have got to look at those grain crops. Then you have got your horticultural crops per se. Then you have got livestock products and also your fiber products, wool, and all of those that are exported from South Africa. But we would be able to provide this kind of information to the Select Committee for Engagement. Now, if you have got to look at the budget outline, there is a slide. I think, Mr. Malisha, if you can just provide that slide for the honorable members to see, where we talk about the breakdown that we have for each and every program in the department. It goes to a level to say, we as a department would have the money that would be allocated. We go, that slide starts with vote 29, and it says E&E per program and per sub-program, if honorable members can see it from their side. Now, to answer the question that Honorable Pinar had, on food security, land reform and restitution, the budget of 9.3 billion is outlined there. Food security comprises 17.1% of that, and that's 2.8 billion. And then you have got land distribution and tenure reform, 849 million rand. And you would then go deeper and see that restitution has got 3.4 billion, but you also have got the commission itself getting 105 million. So there's a breakdown that is there in terms of the budget, and it's there in the slide that gives you 2024-2025 E&E per program and per sub-program. So that outline is there. Honorable Mabilo, I couldn't agree more with you in terms of the budget deficit. And I think Honorable Minister in his introduction, and I have also indicated in my own introduction, that if we have got to fast-track land reform in our country, we need to ensure that it's either in terms of the legal space that we have, there should be maneuvering, or alternatively, we have got to find a way of increasing the budget so that you can have more. In the introduction, Minister had indicated that land restitution has always spent their money because the demand that is there is more than what we have got to do. And therefore, if we have got to ensure that land reform goes, we have got to get more money flowing into the space. And this is through engagements with National Treasury, which we are currently doing through the current budget window that we are afforded. Noting that we are in a constrictory level of fiscal space that we are, money would be hard to come by. We have got to find alternative ways of doing this. Through cabinet, there was also, in terms of fast-tracking land reform, a land donations policy that was approved in 2020 that seeks to incentivize all those who have got vast tracts of land to donate to government in order for that land to then be shared with those who need to go into farming. Now, there was an issue around Neil as in the Northern Cape. Yes, I know the place, but the issue around the title deed and whether it was not given is something that I still have got to engage with you, Honorable Mabilo. But what happens, and this can be attested from the commissioner's point of view, is that the title deeds are given immediately unless there is a problem. And we will have to engage with you to find out what the issue would be around this community. On the agri-parks not being functional, I think we are the first ones as a department to say that maybe in terms of our planning, we would have been very ambitious to have a grand plan that might not have been at that stage well-resourced. We have dealt with these aspects through the African Development Bank to come up with a model of an agri-park that would be functional in South Africa. And we are working towards the functionality of the 9 agri-parks and work upwards towards those that would have been planned. So that's something that we are dealing with within the funding levels that we are having. In terms of timeframes, we have indicated that this year we want to get 9 functional, and that's where we would base ourselves to ensure that we move. But we move from a perspective that we have got to work from agri-parks from bottom up instead of a top bottom, because then you would not have support structures towards the agri-park, and you might have implosion of these areas if the macro environment and the value chain is not supported. I think this also leads to the next question that came from Honorable Kobus van der Berg. You are correct in terms of the planning phase as government, that there is nothing wrong in terms of the planning of government. And in my own introduction, I had indicated that while the performance of the department might look good and is on the upward trajectory, what we are doing is to ensure that the performance in terms of paper matches the performance on the ground. Because at some stage you might have that inconsistency or flux in terms of performance. So we are looking at that, ensuring that our monitoring and evaluations really have got that consistent flavor between what we report and what is happening on the ground. And to this effect, we remain very open to share M&E reports with you, because the only way that we can be able to grow this sector, it's also open ourselves up for external reviews that would help us grow. Now, the challenge is well accepted. In the next year or two, we will also share the reports that we would have coming from the evaluations, Honorable van der Berg. Honorable Bongim Tombeni, the issue around slide 32 and slide 33, and that also goes to the question that the chair had. The presentations that we make to the select committee actually takes into consideration that the select committee is looking at the provincial slice of our budget, and it's looking at the provincial slice in terms of what programs would be within a particular space. And this is what we try. In elements where we have got the provincial spaces who are also involved in this particular program, we commit that we will come and make an overall kind of presentation that would give a helicopter view of what's happening in each and every provincial space as financed by the department through a variety of our funding instruments, including the Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program, Ilimalisema, Land Care, and all of those that are within the grant space. So we commit to do that, Honorable Mtombe. Now, Honorable Kennedy, there's this issue around livestock and what happens when there is a mining initiative that is being taken and there is relocation of individuals plus livestock to a new area. Firstly, I think it might be very dangerous for me to venture a response without understanding the practical realities that we are facing, because according to my own understanding is that when such a deal is being struck between the mining company and the communities, at least the department should be involved in terms of relocation, understanding what kind of business initiatives are there, so that at the new place, the communities are not subjected to new areas that might not meet the initial practical operations that they had, and also the space where they operated. But I am quite willing to take this offline with you so that I can know the intricacies of the matter per se, because it seems to be born out of a lived reality somewhere in South Africa, so that we can also look at those. But my understanding is that if there is relocation, it should be less than what you had previously, and should also take into consideration the livelihoods that the people had within a particular area. But I'm quite willing to engage with Honorable Kennedy on that. Now, on the pesticides, any pesticide that is being utilized in South Africa, in terms of the law, should be registered in terms of an act with a very long name. It's Agricultural Remedies, Stock Remedies. It also includes farm feeds, and Agricultural Remedies Act, Act 36. It has got a dated 1947, but there has been quite a few issues that have been dealt with. That act is under review. But in terms of the act, any pesticide that is registered would have to have a residual kind of, if I spray it today, then over a number of days, then it is expected that the residues that you would find on that product should be below a threshold that would cause harm to human beings. Now, that's something that we have got to look at the department. There have been studies that have been done, one by a colleague in the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, that looked at the residues that come from vegetables that were bought from markets. And that actually said to us, we need to have a greater look at those. It might only mean that some of the products might be removed before that residual period has been dealt with, or alternatively, we have got to look at these harmful issues that you are referring to. And that's one issue, or that Honorable Kennedy, we can have a discussion if Honorable Kennedy has got a point that needs to be looked at by the department and be reported on. However, overall, when we have got to look at the law that deals with pesticides in our country, we have got a law, and if that law is not taken in, there are various instances where non-compliance have got to be reported. We have got this law, and I have got to say, implemented quite rigorously on the exports, but we really need to do it more when it comes to local, because there is no separation in terms of local and exports for the people of South Africa. The issue around the cause of delays in terms of land claims, it depends on the complexity of the claim itself. And as indicated, we also dealing with the issue around financing. Now, the commissioner, who's also on the platform, came up with a case reduction strategy that would, in the main, require funding. And as I have indicated previously, we'll be engaging with National Treasury to deal with that. Now, Chair, you have rightfully indicated that we should be slanting towards the provincial space, and that's what we will do. We will also deal with the strategies that would come from the provinces and ensure that those engagements happen. In closing, Honorable Chair, the issue around the border management agency, as asked by Honorable Pina, remains one of those areas that we assist with. The officials who are currently manning the border posts and dealing with agricultural issues at the border posts are actually ex-officials of the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. These officials were ceded to the BMA on the 1st of April 2023, and we hope that that engagement would then usher a space where you have got competency around a subject matter, and we will then be able to deal with the threats that come through the border. But at this moment, and as Minister Nyoncho and Minister Steenhuisen would say, in the briefing sessions that they have had with the department, there are areas that we need to correct, but those would be administrative in terms of the department and the BMA to ensure that there is maximum functionality of this aspect, our border posts. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
No, thank you so much, DG. And my sincere apologies. I just got a message that there's a member who had her hand or his hand up, and I did not recognize that hand. I would like to invite the member in question to pose his or her questions and comments, so that there's no one who would feel that, hey, coming to a meeting, I could not say what I wanted to say. Honorable member, are you on the platform? Honorable member?
Honorable Member Masinga.
Is it Masinga? Member
Yes,
Masinga, are you here?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you loud and clear. Maybe that's what was the problem, and that's why we did not pick up your hand. Yes, you may go ahead, Honorable Masinga. We're all ears.
It's Mcinga, ne?
Oh,
MCIN.
member, Honorable Mcinga, we're all ears. Please continue.
Thank you so much. Ndifuna ubulisa nominister ne. Into ebendifuna uyiqonda mna into yokuba kutheni singathethi nge-state farms. Uminister uzazithini i-state farms? And eyesibini into ebendifuna uyiqonda kuminister into yokokuba ii-applications eziziphendayo ze-state farms ndicela nje ibe khona kwii-plans zakho nakule document. Minister, ndiyabulela.
Bulela mina, honorable member. DG, did you manage to get the questions, or your team?
Yes, we got the question, and thanks to Honorable Mcinga, I think it's also aligns with a question that was asked earlier on around what are we doing with state farms? Are we going to continually have a portfolio that is rising and not giving title deeds? Minister Nyoncho is going to continue to issue title deeds to deserving farmers in order to divest the farms from the state to deserving farmers, and that's one thing that would be done. The reason why this is not in the APP, it's because it's demand driven and it's compliance driven also. There are a few issues that farmers would need to comply with in order for them to be given title deeds. And that's something that we are currently addressing, Honorable Chair and honorable members of the Select Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Mineral Resources. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you so much, DG. Minister and Deputy Minister and your team, before we let you go, may I, on behalf of the committee, make this request that the APPs of the department be sent to the committee, having been broken down province by province, so we are able to keep track, because it's extremely important for us to be able to keep track based on what you said you are going to do overall in the country, but specifically by province. If we could get that APPs in that context, it will greatly assist our work and our area of focus, because you see, we just went through about 70 slides, which I can imagine the amount of time that it took you to put together such a presentation. We'll be having a meeting with the team sometime next week, just to formulate a reporting template that will assist when you have to report to the Select Committee. That will also assist you not to spend days and hours preparing a report that will take about 140 slides, only to find out you could have easily spent probably an hour or two just feeding the information according to the reporting template. Because it's important that our reports are synchronized. All the departments that are appearing before the Select Committee want to have a simplified, synchronized reporting format, so that when members receive reports from the department, they just know what to look for, because everything that we want would have been fed into the columns that we have designed. So you will see when you send, once we have concluded, when we send it to you, it will speak to province by province, municipality by municipality, and so on and so forth, so that the work of both the department and the Select Committee becomes easy, because we take notice of the fact that you not only appear or not only present to the select committee, but you also have National Assembly that you need to report or that you need to present to. And it's a cumbersome process, and we appreciate the fact that you are able to take time, prepare, and when you come here, there's a member who had indicated that your presentation is in order, it is informed. The person that was making a presentation knew what they were talking about. You did not present because there are slides in front of you and there's no one else to present, but you had thoroughly prepared. Member Pina had indicated that he went through the reports. And I just want to bring into attention so that you appreciate why we want to develop this reporting format. Minister, outside the office, or let me do this because these departments are marrying each other, whilst others are divorcing from one another. We have land and rural development, we've got agriculture, we have fishery, forestry, and environment, we have mineral resources and petroleum, we've got electricity and energy in this particular select committee that we need to deal with. And on top of that, tomorrow in another select committee, which is a sister committee to this one, chaired by Honorable capable member Boshoff, it's trade industry competitions, it's communication, digital technologies, including tourism, and their agencies, and I want to believe even on the site, you'll have those that have agencies like your Petro SA and so on and so forth. So all of this work that we have to do as members of these select committees, if we have to read honestly every week, plus or minus 100 pages or 70 slides in preparing for meetings, by the time 5 years is done, some of us will have lost our minds. And it is because of that that we want to develop this reporting template that will assist us so that whilst you are presenting our engagements with yourselves, whether be it in the form of a question, comment, it's something that it's of value, something that you also appreciate and you can take it back instead of you sitting here spending 1 hour, 2 hours presenting, and when we engage, you can tell it, but these people, they don't know what they're talking about because there's just so much that needs to be done. And I'm just making that impression upon yourself so that you understand the amount of work that we do. And we have made to understand that unlike the National Assembly, where you've got almost 300 members having to deal with all the departments in the national government, on this side, you only have 54 members that have to do with it. That's why there's a clustering of departments into certain select committees. With that in mind, Honorable Minister and Deputy Minister, maybe as your parting shot.
Honorable Chair, thank you very much. We have correctly captured what you were saying, and we can assure you that your desires will be fulfilled. And we're really looking forward to our next engagement with the select committee. And ndiyafuna ke Honorable Chair ukutsho ku Honorable Mcinga uba umhlaba wona uzawubuya, and umhlaba means farms nazo. So ngokuqinisekileyo emveni koba ii-processes zilandeliwe uzawubuya. In fact, inanto siyizeleyo apha Chair ukuthi sinike abantu umhlaba njengoba negama lisitsho, land reform and rural development. Otherwise, thanks for everything, Comrade Chair, and thanks to the DGs led, to the officials, of course, led by the DG. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister, and we appreciate the commitment around the issue of land. I had also indicated that there are going to be heated debate when we begin to focus solemnly on the land issues from our provinces where we come from and from our political parties that we belong to. The moment we begin to speak of land, on that day, DG, we would want the meeting to be physical so that all of us are in the same room. Physical in terms of the meeting, but not physical in terms of the engagement.
Yeah, thank you. Basically, I just want to thank the committee and share the same sentiments with Minister on the issue of land. I think we'll try by all means to ensure that land is returned to the people in as far as ourselves. But all in all, the commitment from our parties that we must ensure that land is returned to those who needs to work it and those who need. But I just wanted to also assure on Pinar that the issue that he raised about the concept of using a qualificative like data, things such as that, which may not be easily measurable. I want to assure you, Honorable Pinar, that we will ensure at technical level that we come up with quantifiable targets in everything that we do, because once it cannot be measured, it means it cannot be done. So we'll try by all means from the side of the department to ensure that we don't use such qualificatives at technical level, because better and next time and all these kind of things are political concepts. They are not concepts that are supposed to be used by management at management level. We need to be very specific, to use specifics, because you need to be measured on quantifiable targets. If it cannot be measured, it cannot be done. Thank you very much, colleagues. I think this is very encouraging. It shows that going forward, we are going to have a very progressive and interesting engagement. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Deputy Minister Mathabata. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister and your team. And we want to take this opportunity to indicate that you are now allowed to leave the meeting and attend to other engagement. We only request that you do so quietly so that the committee can continue with its business. As in when you leave, don't say bye-bye, anything. Just that red button that says leave, nicely and quietly, so that we continue. Mr. Bauer, we're going to the next agenda item.
Yes, Chairperson. The next agenda item would be the budget vote report. I've sent it to everybody. That's the budget vote report. We just need a proposer and a seconder on the report, Chairperson.
Is it not supposed to be the minutes of the last meeting?
Oh, would you want me to do the minutes first, Chairperson? We have to do both.
Okay, no, it's fine. I thought this will form part of the minutes of the last meeting, but if it's two different issues, there's no problem. You can take us through that.
Chairperson, it's a long report. I sent it to everybody. So if there's any issues with the report, we could fix them. But this is the report as it stands. It has to be ATC today, as the debate is on the 25th. So we need someone to propose and second for the adoption of the report.
Can you just take us on a high level in Tatebauer so that at least we are clear? Okay, Chairperson. The report basically states that we met on the 23rd of July. Sorry, my phone is speaking. The department briefed us on the APP and the budget. The committee questioned few of the questioned the committee on a few issues.
which was about the transfer to public, the money transfer to public entities. The minister also explained that of the entities, 5 of them received clean audits, 3 qualified audits. The minister also explained that there were numerous pieces of legislation in cabinet with regards to addressing illegal mining and also electricity and others and matters. Members of the committee raised issues with regard to the equity breakdown, status of the mining rights, etc., and how detailed records of mines that are not complying. The main issue also came out with the ownerless and derelict mines. That was a big issue as far as the members were concerned, because they wanted to know what was the rationale for using state funds when the mines are owned. So the department came back and said what they were referring to ownerless and derelict mines were mines where they cannot trace, mainly mines pre-94. So they had to use state funds for the rehabilitation. The other issue was with regards to funding on the use of consultants and why internal expertise could not be utilized. The other issue was the rights holders and that how they are enforced to transgressions. Rights holders, the department explained, they get served, then they get a notice before termination, etc. The other one, the minister in his closing reiterated that the focus will be heavily on illegal mines. They are trying to bring that under control. The CFO did confirm there was a discrepancy in the presentation that about 1,511 individuals is employed by the department. And also the fulfillment of vacant posts, that is a discussion that they are having with DPSA and National Treasury, and that is they will secure in the extreme cases where they need to fulfill and on the availability of funds. Thank you, Chairperson.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Mr. Bauer. Honorable members, in a nutshell, this is what we discussed with the department. You will see when we do our minutes, more or less the same things that are appearing on the committee report will be what would have been captured in the minutes. But this is a reflection of the discussion that we had with the department in our first meeting. I'm not sure if members still remember that we had that discussion with the department. I don't know if you had an opportunity as members to go through, if there are issues of concern that have been captured here, but I had an opportunity to go through. And on my side, I'm happy with what has been captured. So I'll take members. Just indicate if you want to speak. I'm back on my phone. So I'll take members who are saying, no, Chair, you know what, I corner. I don't remember us discussing any of the things that are on the report now. Otherwise, we'll take a member or two that will move for the adoption and the member that will second the move. Because this is our report, we'll need to adopt it. Isn't it, Mr. Bauer, that we must adopt our own report?
Correct, sir. Mr. Mabilo's hand is up, Chair.
Dr. Mabilo? Mr. Mabilo.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson. I rise to propose that we adopt the report, the select committee report, as a committee. That's my formal proposal. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Member Dlamini.
Good afternoon, Chair, in the meeting. I rise to second Honorable Mabilo in accepting the report as presented, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Member Dlamini. Honorable members, our report has been adopted unanimously as the report of the committee, as a report of the select committee, rather. I'm so used to portfolio committee. And as a report of the select committee. Can we move to the next agenda item quickly, Ntate Bauer?
The minutes is up on the screen, Chairperson. I just need to propose and second the same process.
Yeah, just show us the minutes. I see the attendance register.
Yeah, those were the members. And
who in the meeting, yeah. Go down. Yeah, go to page 3. Go all the way. All right, you can go to the first page. Is there any issue that we have, honorable members, on the first page of the minutes? Those who were in attendance to the meeting? No issue. On page 2, Ntate Bauer? Is there any issue with the minutes on page 2? No issue. On page 3? All right. On page 4? No issue. Can we then have a mover and a seconder of our minutes? Can we have a mover and a seconder for our minutes, honorable members? These are our minutes.
Chairperson, it's Honorable Van der Berg. I will move.
Member Kobus H.J. Van der Berg, you'll be number 1. Is there number 2? Honorable Mapule Dlamini will be number 2. Ntate H.J. Van der Berg. Member Van der Berg.
Yes, Chair. I have moved, but I can second my move if you want to.
Oh, Member Van der Berg has moved. Member Dlamini.
I second, Chair. Thank you.
Member Dlamini seconds the move. Our meeting have been officially adopted. Next agenda item.
That's it, Chairperson. We have concluded everything for the day.
We don't have announcements, nothing.
Nothing, Chairperson.
There's no member that is birthday. There's no debate on this vote. There's nothing.
No, the only debate that this committee is doing would be on minerals and energy.
When is it?
On the 25th, the duration 23rd, so it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
On this coming Thursday, there's a debate on this vote.
On DMRE, on minerals.
Yeah, I'm saying, when I say this vote, I mean the minutes that we just dealt with.
Yes, Chair.
Oh, okay. So, honorable members, Thursday we have a debate on the mineral and resource. Is it mineral resource and energy, right? It's not yet mineral resource and petroleum.
No, there hasn't been split yet, Chair.
All right. With that in mind, honorable members, our meeting has come to an end. As always, let me take this opportunity to thank your good selves for availing yourself for preparing for our meetings and for engaging the department. And you are also reminded that some of the questions you can do so in a written form, and that you can have a written reply, so that whenever you go, at least you've got something in black and white that says the department has said they are committing themselves to the following. Until we meet in our next select committee, let me take this opportunity to wish you a good afternoon. We'll meet on Thursday during the debate. Honorable members and staff, you are released. The meeting is adjourned. You have saved yourself extra 15 minutes before 1 o'clock. We're supposed to finish at 1. We finish 15 minutes before 1 o'clock. You are doing very well. This is the results of preparing for coming to meetings. Thank you so much, honorable members.